So let me just get myself ready. All right. So welcome everyone. No matter where you're joining us from, I'm glad to see you all connecting in. First, I want to make a technical check. So can everyone hear me? It's a very important thing to do. All right. I see. Nice. Good. So yeah, welcome again, and I'm certain that the next hour we'll spend together will be rich with information and that will introduce you to some concept that hopefully will help you change the way you'll deal with data in your humanitarian and development work. I'll present myself. My name is Walid Moulahum. I am an information management officer at CartONG. I'm joined today also by my colleague Sylvie, who is the manager of the project funding this webinar. She'll also be supporting us by monitoring the chat room where you can ask all your questions all along the webinar. So before we start, I'd like to take a few minutes or a few moments. I'd like to give the floor to Sylvie to say a few words about and provide us with context about the H2H project, and then we'll dive back into our presentation. Sylvie, the floor is yours. The floor is yours. Yeah.
Thank you, Walid. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you are all well, and thank you for joining this webinar with us today. So this webinar is part of the project we are currently running for the H2H network. So these donors currently fund a project that we are doing in Lebanon in consortium with IMAP, Map Action, HOT. So we are supporting the LHGF, the Lebanon Head of Network, currently with IM support and GIS support. So part of this, we are also providing some training, and this webinar is also part of these capacity building activities that we are doing. So Walid, back to you. And as Walid said, I will monitor the chat, and we keep the question for the end of the presentation. Thank you so much. Enjoy. You're mute, Walid. You're on.
Yeah. Thank you, Sylvie, for that context. What I want to mention also is that the webinar will be recorded, so you can have access to it later on YouTube. So let's start now. So, and to do that, I would like us to just put ourselves in a setup that we're all familiar with. So every day, as humanitarian organizations, we collect thousands of data points. We conduct needs assessments, we register beneficiaries, monitor activities, we track indicators. But let me ask you a question. How often does all of this data that we collect to support our decision making is useful? Or in other words, how much of this data is actually helpful to us to make a good decision? Now, this is a rhetorical question. I mean, collecting data has become part of our daily work, and data alone does not improve programs. And this is what makes a difference, what makes a difference in our ability to transform the data into meaningful information that helps us to understand the needs and to identify priorities. And also, eventually, we would want it to lead us to improving the lives of the people that we serve. So this is exactly what today's webinar is about. Today, we'll explore how business intelligence, and more specifically the software Microsoft Power BI, how it can help us, or how it can help humanitarian organizations move beyond the old-fashioned or static reporting and spreadsheets to create creative dashboards that support decision making. So this is a disclaimer. This is not intended to be a comprehensive Power BI training. So for those of you familiar with Power BI, it's probably not destined for you. It's because it doesn't go into the technical details. However, you can still benefit from it because it gives you an introduction to a different way of working with data in humanitarian work. Before we dive into Power BI itself, our journey will take us first to look at the challenges that organizations face. Then we introduce the concepts behind business intelligence. Then we explore real humanitarian dashboards. And finally, we finish by showing a live demo on how to build a simple dashboard together using real humanitarian case study, and we will publish it online and we'll consume it online. So stay with us until the end for that nice piece of live demo. Now, I'd like us to think about the essence of humanitarian work. Now, humanitarian organizations work in contexts where needs are often far greater than the resources that they have. This has become even more critical, and I think everyone is familiar with this because of the critical or the current humanitarian funding crisis. We see growing needs that are being met with shrinking budgets available and reduced operational capacity. So in this context, every decision becomes, crucial. Every decision now matters more than ever before. As humanitarians, we constantly ask questions like, which communities should be reached first, which sectors require immediate attention, which interventions are producing the greatest impact. So these are operational and strategic decisions that directly affect people's access to assistance. So for me, and I think the essential question becomes, how do we ensure that our limited resources and efforts are directed where they are mostly needed and where they can create the greatest impact? And this is interesting because to solve this, humanitarian organizations need something to guide their decision. They need a compass, and that guiding compass is evidence. So, but the question that we ask is, how is this evidence built? So, evidence does not appear automatically from raw data on their own. Many actually think that the more data we have, the more data we collect, the more problems we can solve. That is a typical misconception. Evidence comes from strategic information management. Information management, for those of you who don't know, is a discipline that guides data through its complete journey from collection to cleaning to analysis to creating information and to building knowledge. And with this, we reach or we can make an informed decision. So in simple terms, it helps us move from collecting the data to building an understanding of the data and act on that understanding. Ah, wow. Okay, you should have. Oh, sorry. I was talking without sharing the PowerPoint. That is not a. I think now you should see. Yeah, you see it. This is good. Just the start. The rest is the interesting part. You haven't missed that much. So I think now you can see it. You can see the PowerPoint. Good. So going back to where we were, so information management, as we said, it helps us to collect the data, to build the understanding, and to act on that understanding. And the entire process needs to be coordinated responsibly. But this work is not very simple. It actually rarely is. And because organizations still struggle to achieve that level of informed decision making. And why is that the case? Let's take a look at some of the challenges that these organizations face. So the first thing is that humanitarian organizations collect data from different sources, from different assessments, monitoring visits, and they collect it also in different formats. So they have it in Excel, from COBOL, from GIS platforms. This leads to the first challenge, which is fragmentation of data, meaning that data is spread across different tools, different formats, different teams, and even different reporting cycles, which makes it very difficult to create one coherent picture. And that is necessary to take good decisions. The second challenge is data quality. So we have data, but within the data we have missing values, we have duplicate records, we have inconsistent names, and we have even sometimes outdated information that reduce significantly the confidence that we put in the analysis made on this data that is not that or of which the quality is low. Another challenge is that uh, reporting is often highly manual, and I'm in the beginning of my career. I was very guilty of this, where with the teams with which I worked, we tended to repeatedly export, copy, merge data from Excel to another. We had V1, V2, V22 version 22 of Excel. So we didn't follow good practices of responsible data management, and by the time the let's say the report is finalized, it might actually even be outdated. So this is another challenge that we face at the level of our organizations. Um, at the same time, organizations face what's called an information overload. So they have hundreds of indicators and also thousands of records. But the issue is that decision makers, they struggle to find the right answer and the right indicator for the answer they're looking for. All of that in a timely manner. So that's also one important challenge that is faced. Another thing that I think is important is that what I noticed is that the reports that we have or that we see are usually descriptive. They tell the story of what happened, but not necessarily where the gaps are, or who is underserved, or which intervention requires attention. In other words, the right questions are not asked, and that's something important to keep in mind. And finally, and I think this is a very important part also, is that the decision makers increasingly need access to updated information whenever they are from any device, especially in a world where things are moving very fast. You need access to information immediately and the most reliable information. Yeah, so and you want to do that without needing to go through or to the meal officer or the information officer and ask them for a new statistic every time. That can take a very long time in a place where the decision needs to be made in a timely manner. So the challenge is really not simply having more data, it's making the right information available at the right time and also in the format that supports action. From this slide, we'll go to see that we're going to see a process which is called business intelligence, and it's a process that actually, let's say, meets the gap that we were just talking about, the challenges that we just discussed. So, business intelligence, or BI in short, in simple, is is not really, or what is understood usually is that it's creating dashboards. It's actually a much broader process for transforming data into information that people can use. It starts with the first step, which is data integration. So in here we bring together the information from different sources into one management space. We move to the next, or it's followed by the next step, which is preparing and modeling the data. This means that we clean the data, we correct for its inconsistencies, we handle the missing values, and we organize them into a structure that supports reliable analysis. So we basically solve the second challenge that we mentioned earlier. Once that data is ready, is prepared and modeled, we move towards analysis. And this is where we calculate our indicators, where we compare the results, where we identify the trends, where we aggregate the information, and most importantly, where we generate the insights. Because from these insights, or at least these insights being important information, needs to be shared. How do we do that? It is shared through visualization, such as charts, such as dashboards, such as maps. And finally, even if we share this insight through visualization products, the information needs to be used, or is used, consumed for tracking performance, for identifying gaps, for answering business questions, basically. So the important point that we need to keep in mind is that these stages are connected, and Power BI, and this is when we talk about Power BI, is one of the platforms that brings all these stages together within one single environment. So now we dive into a bit into Power BI. So what is Power BI? Power BI is Microsoft's uh, business analytics platform. So it is designed to do exactly what we saw earlier. So to connect, analyze, visualize, and share data within an organization. It provides a workflow from connecting to different data sources to creating highly interactive reports. But remember that Power BI is not just a dashboard or a set of visual dashboard or a report with nice visuals is only actually the tip of the iceberg. Behind it, as we saw, there's an entire platform that supports the full journey from raw data to useful, actionable information. But how does it fit exactly or technically in the business intelligence platform? It begins with the data integration. So in here, Power BI can connect to many types of sources, including Excel files, including SharePoint folders, including SQL databases, cloud services, APIs also, like the ones that you find that you use for Kobo and Activity Info, for example. And it brings all of that relevant data into one environment. Like this, it solves the problem or challenge of fragmentation that we discussed earlier. In the data preparation, this is done mainly through a sub software, which is called Power Query. So this is basically where we clean and transform the data. Which interesting is that Power Query also records each transformation as a repeatable step. So once you do the cleaning process, it is applied whenever the data is refreshed. So you don't have to redo things every time, and this is very powerful for this kind of work. When we move to the third part or third step, which is data modeling analysis, Power BI allows us to define relationships between the different tables and organize the data into a structure that supports reliable calculations. For that, we use DAX measures to calculate indicators. What we can calculate are, for example, measures such as totals, percentages, targets. We can calculate gaps. We can calculate averages or changes over time. So it's really powerful in a way that allows us to apply advanced analysis. In the fourth, or once the model is ready, we move to data visualization. This is where we build charts, KPI cards, tables, slicers. We'll see that more into demos of very good dashboards. And then finally, the report is published. This is one of the advantages of Power BI is that you can publish it, you can share it with authorized users, and also you can refresh it automatically, sometimes even automatically when the source data changes. And this report is also accessed through browser apps or mobile devices. So it solves the issue or the challenge of accessing data in a timely manner anywhere you are. So as you see, Power BI covers the entire full workflow of business intelligence. But often we say Power BI, but Power BI on its own it's not a software on its own. It's an ecosystem of applications that work together. So everything starts with Power BI desktop. This is where you or analysts and information management do the entire design of the report or dashboard. Once the report is ready, it is published to the Power BI service. So this is Microsoft's cloud platform. This is where you store your report, where you share it, where you collaborate on it, and also where you refresh it, or you put signals of refreshment, automatic refreshment. And then finally, you or end users, they don't need Power BI desktop to consume the data. What you do is that you share it through web browsers or mobile applications, and the users can interact with the data, and they can monitor and consume the key indicators. So in simple terms, think of it this way: desktop is where we built the product. Service is where we publish and manage, and then the browser is where we consume the information. Now, the next point is why Power BI is popular. And I think from my experience, I've summarized it in the following points. So, for example, first, Power BI has the ability to connect to hundreds of data sources. I know I'm repeating this often, but it's really one of the major advantages. It basically solves the problem of fragmentation. So because data is rarely stored in one place, as we saw before. So all of these, or Power BI can bring them together in one analytical environment, reducing the time spent manually combining the data every time. So that's an interesting advantage. Another advantage, which I think makes it more appealing, is the little or no coding that is required for many common tasks. So users can connect to data, they can clean it, create visuals, and build really good reports without only using graphical interface. So, of course, I mean there is there are more advanced options and features that rely on, let's say, DAX or for advanced measures, and also Power Queries, M language that you use for the transformation of the and preparation of the data. But honestly, from my experience, and I think I usually apply the Pareto principle of 20 to 80%. So 20% of knowledge can allow you to do 80% of the work. And for that reason, I've seen many useful reports that were created without really strong programming skills. So this is very a good advantage. Another point I think is also that makes the Power BI very appealing is that it makes reports interactive. So instead of receiving a fixed table or fixed PDF, users can filter by location. They can filter by partner or a sector or project. And that allows them to explore the information themselves. So it makes one report able to answer several questions without requiring a new output from the designer or the designer of the report. So it saves a lot of time, especially in the exploitation phase of the report. Also, one of the other very good advantages is that it has automatic refresh features. So you don't have to, every time there's a new data, you have to do it on your own. That takes a lot of time, but it saves all the steps of cleaning and modeling. And then whenever there's a new update of the data, you can set up signals of refreshments, and that can help you save a lot of time. Also, Power BI supports sharing and collaboration, which means that reports can be published securely so that only authorized colleagues or managers or even partners, so externals, work on the same version of the information. So it's also the information becomes reliable. You have only one source of information that is reliable. And also, finally, one of the, I think, interesting elements of it is that it integrates closely with tools that already exist in humanitarian organizations. So it includes Excel, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, and the wider Microsoft 365 environment. So this makes it really easy to introduce Power BI into an existing workflow. It also means that both the financial and cognitive cost of introducing a new system is reduced. So let us, after seeing all of this, let us see a few, and I think very great examples of dashboard. Let me just move from here. and we go to see our first dashboard. So this is a dashboard that is publicly available by ENSO, which is an NGO specialized in international NGO safety organization. So basically, the dashboard shows it monitors security incidents affecting humanitarian personnel. It is updated monthly and allows users to explore incidents by year, country, and also humanitarian actor type, incident category, and perpetrator. So the way how I explore it is that first I start with the first filters. So in here you see that there are two filters. One is for the year of analysis and also one is for the country. So if we change the year, you see that all the graphs update based on the selected year. If we change also the country, it everything updates according to the country that we want to analyze. And I think this is very good because it shows us that one report can provide several or answers to several questions without changing the entire format. Whereas in the old-fashioned way, for probably for each country there is a report, and for each year there is a report. So that can tell you about how efficient such a system is. I think a learning element of this is that when we click on elements of the graphs, typically what you would see in Power BI dashboards is that the rest of the dash or of the graphs changes according to that selection. So there is cross, let's say, or chart to chart filtering. But I think this does not happen here in this dashboard, and I think this was a decision made or a design decision made by the ENSO team, and they decided probably to limit the chart-to-chart interaction to avoid unintended filtering, and they allow the user to only focus on these two filters, and this way the use of the dashboard becomes very predictable. So this is something to keep in mind. Also, when you are designing these dashboards, to keep in mind that the predictability of using the dashboard is very important because it allows the users to immediately answer the business questions that they have. Let's move to quickly to another report or dashboard, and I think this one is nice. I note that it is built on an older version of Power BI. But still, there are key learning elements about the design of the dashboard. So compared to the previous dashboard, this one gives users a much more detailed and exploratory experience. So what we see is that in the first page, we have 3 pages of this report. In the first, okay, let's do that again. Refreshing. The first page starts with an overview where users can filter by month and by different geographical levels. This is a very good element of design that we do at the modeling level, where we provide a hierarchy or geographical hierarchy of filters. So you can filter, you can go from the governorate overview to the community overview, and this is very, very powerful. We see also that the headline cards show the number of interviews and also the overall protection index. We see also that there are maps where we can ask questions about where, for example, where is the district in here, the sub-district level? Where are the districts with the highest protection risk, for example? But one thing to keep in mind is that the page is still a bit crowded, so it creates an overload of cognitive overload of information, and it requires a bit of restructuring. This is one of the key takeaways that I wanted you to have from this. What we notice also is that this is an overall index, and one of the other things to keep in mind is that we see that there are indexes that were split by themes. And this is very important because one index, sometimes it aggregates the information, but we need to know how did we reach that, or the details of such an index. And this is a learning also to keep in mind, is that when you're designing a dashboard, sometimes you need to provide some more details so you have a better understanding of the situation. Let's move to a final dashboard, and I think this one is very, very good, but not in terms of the data that we will see. This is a sample that you can find on the Microsoft Fabric community. And this is particularly strong because it shows how you can make your dashboard really very user-friendly in terms of user experience. So how they can explore the dashboard. And as you can see, the report or the dashboard uses clear visual hierarchy. So we have the main indicators here. We have also underneath it graphs that show the monthly evolution for the 2026 for specific donations. But a strong design feature or strong design choice that was made for this dashboard is that the use of what we call a drill through style navigation, which means that, for example, when we click on details, and here we only have 2026, when we click on details, it takes us to a completely different page where we see much more details for 2024, 2025, and 2026, and also the combined trend or evolution over time. So this is and you can go back to the main menu, and this gives a feeling of as if you are exploring a website. So this is a really, really good show of how user experience or the different features that exist on Power BI that improve the user experience. Let's and you can see also that there are some other features where, for example, you don't need to overcrowd your page with information. You can just have these what we call thumbnails. So you have the indicator here, and then once you hover on top of it, it changes to, and it provides you with more details. And what's interesting is that what you notice is at the on the right is that there is an indicator that actually changes once every few seconds, and this is a very good. And it allows you not to overcrowd your design and make it much more fluid. Let's move to the final one, and then with this, after that we'll move towards the final one is a highly good dashboard that answers great field questions, operational questions. This is a humanitarian response dashboard done by OCHA for the situation in Sudan. It was last updated in December 2025. And what we see, the key takeaway from this is that the way how it is structured. So this is one of the things that you need to keep in mind when you are designing a dashboard, is that you need to design how the information is or what is the journey of exploring or consuming the dashboard. So in here it starts from the total or the overview of the situation. It moves towards the intercluster response, so it gives you all these indicators, and then it moves to more and more details. So this is the cluster. You can filter by cluster and things, and you can move with more and more details. So this is the key takeaway from this one, is that you need to initially, before you even start working with Power BI, ask the right questions, the right operational questions. Think of how the consumer will use it, and then design your dashboard according to that. So with this, I think we have seen a few very good examples of dashboards, and let's build our own. Let's do that. Just give me a sec. For that, just open your Power BI. I think it comes if you have already a Microsoft 365. If you don't have it, you download it. The only thing to keep in mind is that download it when you choose it from the website. Download the executable of the language that you want to use it. So if you use it in French, download the version in French. Once you open it, you click on a blank report. And this is the general view that we have of Power BI. So you basically have from the side, we have where we'll see the data, and here all the choices of visuals that we'll use, the different filters that we can apply on the data. And then also we have different views. So we have the report view, the table view, and the model view. But before we go to that, we're going to use, I'm going to show you the data that we will use. So the data is, so we have a subset of a WASH assessment that was done by a humanitarian organization that was very complex, but it was reduced for the sake of ease when we do the demonstrations. And so this represents the baseline assessment for these applications. So what we see is that, for example, the one thing that I want you to notice is that is the admin level or the administrative level. So this is geographical. This is a reference to geographical position, but we don't know what it means. So for that, we have a reference table. So for example, admin 2, when we open it, we have a reference table. And this is important because where we have the codes, the names here, and also what it means. So the label of this administrative level. This will help us later on see how we can create relationships between table in Power BI. So go back to Power BI. The first thing to keep in mind is is to connect, or not to keep in mind, but to do is how do we connect our data to it. You have many options of connecting data. Even you have actually a variety of options. In our case, you can download an Excel workbook, but in our case, we're not going to do this. We're going to connect to an Excel that is on a share file, on a SharePoint. So when I opened it from the SharePoint, I need to go here to info and collect or copy the path of this SharePoint on, or copy the path and then copy it, paste it here. I just need to remove the last part and keep only the .csv. And the reason why I chose this way is because SharePoint is live, which means it probably you work and you collaborate on an Excel with many other colleagues, and we will see when we'll make a demonstration of that. Is that once you change once a colleague changes an element or a record in that Excel file, it can refresh automatically. And then in here we click, then we see the preview of this table. We click on transform data. And here we are at the level of, well, doing the transformations and the cleaning of this data. So in our case, this is a pretty well cleaned data. The only thing that we can do is usually you verify the type of the columns. But in this case, let's do a very quick demonstration of how, for example, we can change for example, this. So if we take this column, X level sanitation, I don't like the way how no service, for example, is displayed in here. So what I can do is that I can click first on this column and then click replace values, and then I can place the value with no service and replace it with something like this. Just for better display later on. And when I do that, you see that this change has changed now, or what we applied has changed. For example, let's say I don't need all of these columns. So I don't need this. I don't need, for example, a survey type, and I don't need the survey. So I can just leave this one, but I don't need these two. And what I can do is simply delete or remove these columns, and I keep only the columns that interest me. What's interesting is that you see on the side that there are these steps that we are applying are they are saved on the process. So the entire process of cleaning is saved, which means that later on, if you refresh this data, you don't have to repeat all of these cleaning steps. So it automatically happens, and it also allows you also to troubleshoot. If you want to change something at a different level, you just go back to that state and you do it. And also the important thing is that this does not affect your source data at the beginning. So all of the changes, all of the modifications, all the cleaning happens only on this Power Query platform. Let's connect to another table. And then we go back to this table, the admin tool, and then we, as we did before, we copy the path from the SharePoint, paste it, and we click on OK. We click OK, so the data or the table is here. What you see is that what we notice is that the column names are not they don't correspond to the real column names of our table. So what we can do is that we can use an option of using the first row as headers, and then they automatically go up, and they are used as columns. Now, for example, we only want to keep, let's say this, we want to keep the label, and we want to keep the name in French, for example, and the filter. And we don't need the rest, so we click and we remove other columns, and now we only stay with the columns that we need. And as I said earlier, everything is registered here. This is good. We're all done. We click on close and apply, and everything is now, yeah, of course. It needs, because I'm using a SharePoint, it requires that I connect to my data. Let me do this very quickly. The double verification. And here we are. Connect. And the tables are now loaded to this area. We did the transformation, and now we can play a little bit with the modeling, or at least the we ensure that the modeling is fixed. So what we do is that we want to connect the this table to this table, and the way how we do that is that we go to the table view, and then we see what's the common. The common part is this. So we have the admin or the admin2 as filter, and then for this table we have the name. So we go back to the model, and then we put name, and we have it to admin2. And then we have a relationship of one-to-many. We click on save, and now we can use, or we can use the information on this table to display whatever we use with this. And now, very quickly, we're going to see how we can create a chart. So let's start first by seeing how how we can do it, put a table. And the way to do that is very simply, let's say we take project, or yeah, let's go with project. So we want to see how many assessments were done by project. And then we come here and we can take one of each as long as it's a complete. And then we click on, we click on count. And then as you can see, we have a total of 103. And then we have or the number, the count of surveys based on project. This is a very simple measure, but yeah, we can have more complex ones. We can transform that to something like this. We can also create cards if we want. If we want to create cards, which means that summaries of specific statistics. So in our case, for example, we want to calculate the total deliveries, and we have the total deliveries that were measured in the health facility. This, for example, name or the way how it's displayed it doesn't work. So what we do is that We come here, we go to the callout, we change, and then we change the value, and we change the decimals. So it changes like this, or we can simply remove the display unit and remove the display, and now it's shown like this. Yeah. And with the label, for example, we can also say, call it total deliveries, and it changes. So this is just to show you that it's very quick later on to do these elements. We can also create very quickly a filter. Sorry, let's create a filter. So a filter goes like this. Then we can, let's say, filter by admin level, so by country. And then now, the moment we click on a country, everything else changes based on that country. So this is just to show you that it's very quick to build these elements. Now, we're not going to go into the details of it, but I'm going to show you, let's say, a final result of how an average dashboard would look like. So if we continue and we think about different indicators that we want to show, this is a final result of something that that we can build. So we have the navigation panel in here and all the different indicators and with the filters. What's interesting is that if we want to publish this now, this is ready. We want to publish it. So we click simply on publish, and this will take us to, of course, very quickly. There's always these verifications for data security. It's taking a bit of time. Let's just give it some time. It's signing in. Yep. All right. So this takes us to where we want to publish the Power BI, because of course I have a free license. I only have my workspace. If you work in an organization, you are paying for different licenses. You choose the workspace of the organization where everyone can collaborate, and then once it is published, we can go and see it online directly on Power BI service. And in here, of course, because I have a free license, I cannot, the thing is that you can combine as many reports, you put them in here in your workspace or in the organization workspace, and you can create an app and you can control who accesses it and everything, and then you can share the link with the users, and they can access all the reports in one spot, which is very, very cool. But because I have a very, how to say, a free license, what I can do is that I can share or I can export the data there is a way that I forgot how to do it. Yeah, of course, because I have that. There is also, yeah, okay. A sec. Yeah, here. So we can share it as to the public, and you need to be careful about this choice. But if the data that you have is not very sensitive, you can do it. You can create a public, let's say, link that you can embed in your website, for example, and then we copy it, and let's see that it actually works. So we go to any browser, and then we copy the link, and then you can share this report with the different users, so with different partners, with different different users, and you can navigate through it, and you can consume it as if you are what we were seeing earlier. So this is basically the workflow that takes us from building the technical or the technical part to publishing to consumption. One last thing, just 1 minute, and then we go to the questions. So a key takeaways is that just that business intelligence transforms data into actionable information. So, and Power BI is a great tool to do that. But the most important lesson is to start simple. Useful dashboard does not need to be advanced, visual or contain complex visuals or interactions. It just needs to answer the right questions and organize information clearly. Just for information, we are preparing a CartONG Power BI toolbox, which will be released soon. It will include practical guidance examples, and also there are other learning. There's a learning corner that I invite you to go and see. It contains a variety of resources covering information management, GIS, and so on. So please stay in touch with CartONG communication channels, so to be updated with the latest release. And with that, I'd like to open the floor to your questions, and thank you for your attention. Not sure, Sylvie, whether there are any questions that were asked.
So we have Chekina who wanted to ask a question. If you're still there.
Let me increase the volume. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Yeah, so I'm Shekina. I live in Mali. And without further ado, let me start with the questions that I have right now. So, first of all, I want to know if after the class here, after the webinar, if you can share with us the PowerPoint. Is possible? Is it possible?
Sorry, did I understand right? So you're saying whether it's possible to share the PowerPoint of the webinar?
Yeah, exactly. After the Power BI, after the webinar.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the thing that will be, but I'll leave that for Sylvie to confirm. The thing that will be shared is that this webinar recording will be on YouTube. So for everyone's access later on, you can come back to it. You can check the data or the presentation at any point. Yeah.
Okay, that is the first one. The second one, for example, I want to know the difference between a report and a dashboard on Power BI. What is the difference between a report or a dashboard on Excel, on Power BI?
You're talking within Power BI or in general?
Well, okay. General.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, look,
sometimes I saw. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah. Sometimes I see some people talk about a report on Power BI, and I used to make dashboards on it, but I never make a report on Power BI, and I want to know what is the difference, how I can do that, Yeah. If you can help me ask for some ask it's gonna be good.
Yeah. Okay. So the way how I think of it is that a report is usually you do it at your own level of analysis. Or so, for example, it's a collection of one or more interactive pages that that are used to explore and analyze data in detail. So basically, you use them for analysis and you build them in Power BI desktop. You can later on, if you want, save them to a PDF file and then share it with the consumer. Whereas my thinking is that the dashboard is it takes it to a step further, where it brings together different reports, and it combines them into in an interactive way. In an interactive way, where you can analyze the different elements of these reports by using the different filters, the different slicers, and the selected based on the selected of course KPI cards, for example, or visuals, and that usually is used or consumed at the level of Power BI service and is published for consumption. So this is for me how I make the difference between the two, if I understood well what your question was. Is there another question?
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And that is all my questions about your webinar.
Thank you.
For now.
Thank you. Perhaps there's a space for 2 more questions. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for the presentation. It was really insightful and was a really nice introduction to the whole world of BI. I had 2 questions that can be like a bit more technical. The first one is whether there is the chance with, let's say, enterprise licenses, hypothetically working with an NGO that has the means to have like a proper subscription. Is there a way to embed the dashboard into like a hypothetical website or other web pages? And the second question is whether Power BI has any integrations with softwares such as RStudio, for instance, if there's any chance to automatize any kind of inferential statistics as well that can eventually be visualized and displayed in the dashboard too.
Yeah. The first question is very interesting, and I think this is where the discussion comes. Where the discussion comes usually, especially when we talk about proprietary software and open source software. And this is very, very, very interesting because for me, my approach would be always to go with software that is open source. Because like the cost of maintenance after you leave this or a project, you don't need licenses to maintain it, whereas using proprietary software you require licenses to continue using it. So this is very, very interesting element to keep in mind. Now, the advantage with Microsoft 3 or Power BI is that licenses are not that expensive, especially for small organizations. So we're talking about even, for example, if you want to have a very simple, let's say, work of generating reports, the free license already provides you with great elements, with great capacities. If you want to work with your data and share the reports only internally through the classical ways of sharing PDFs, free license can allow you to do that. Even that, the free license allows you something even more interesting, which is you can share as what we saw on the presentation. You can share it publicly if the data is not sensitive. So that's and with that link you can embed it in websites. So the free license already provides you with a lot to do. Now, if you want to move towards more, let's say, collaborative work with your colleagues, in here you need to start thinking about licenses. I think if you are a small group, you can use like a pro licenses would not amount to be very expensive, and you can have the ability to collaborate between all of you. And then, if you want to expand that to more advanced features, then you need to go into a license that is premium per use, I think, and that could be expensive. But usually, this is dedicated to large scale consumption of dashboard. So this is to answer your first question. The second question, if you can remind me, please, what was it?
Of course. First of all, thank you for answering the first one. And the second question would have been, are there any ways to make, let's say, software such as RStudio embedded into Power BI? So, for example, to have inferential statistics run automatically after a script, or show even the results within the Power BI.
Absolutely. And this is a great feature and a great question also that you're asking, because let me show you, and this is something that you can incorporate in Power BI. So if you go here and you can incorporate Python visuals and also our script visuals. And I haven't explored them myself, but I've seen tutorials where you can do that, where you can have the script of your visual, and you put it to work on the data that has been transformed, cleaned, and modeled within Power BI. And this is a great feature because we know that also our visuals are can be a lot more advanced than or has the ability to create very advanced visuals. So this is something that I think you can explore if you'd like to do that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, really.
I think we're. Can we have another question, Sylvie, or that's it?
Normally we have to finish right now, but
yeah,
maybe we can take one more if there is one more. But I think it's fine for now.
Yeah, because then with that, thanks a lot for your participation and engagement today. I think I encourage you all to keep learning, experimenting, and most importantly, always start with the questions you wanted your data to answer. If you'd like to revisit today's session, please stay in touch or connect to our channels. You'll see we'll share the recording on YouTube. Don't forget also to follow CartONG's Learning Corner and and our communication channels. And hopefully soon we'll be releasing the Power BI Toolbox, which will be a great learning resource. On behalf of CartONG and the partners involved, I thank you once again for joining us today, and have a wonderful day. And we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Yeah. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Yeah. Have a good day.